Welcome to the Prodigal and the Priest podcast, a podcast about faith, sports, and two friends from different cultures. Here are your hosts, Joey Scansella and Father Paul Bechter.
Father Paul, what's up?
Not much, man. How you doing? Welcome back.
Doing great. Yeah, doing great. Came in, I'm still technically on paternity leave. We get like 10 days through the Diocese of Dallas, but
Yeah, we can tell because of the way you're dressed.
that's right.
Oh, wait, you always dress like this.
That's actually a fallacy, all right? My wife will tell you when I became a director, I make it an effort to actually wear a collared shirt and pants to work. So this is, though, most of the time when I'm recording, I'm coming in addition to my regular job, just not fitting it into my regular schedule.
Huh. Okay.
Okay. So
I'll think about that.
I'll pray about it.
Ponder that one for a little bit. Well, congratulations on
Thank
baby
you.
Sophia.
Baby Sophia. So Sophia Rose Scansella. We kept the same last name. We decided not to change it on the birth certificate or anything like that. Yeah, it was great. It was, my head's still a little foggy because, well, I don't sleep much after a newborn.
Because you have a newborn. I know.
Yeah.
I know all about it.
It's like when you move into a new rectory and like the other priest maybe has like weird tendencies or snores or different things and maybe an adjustment period.
I've got it. Exactly. Yes.
Exactly.
I can empathize totally.
There you go. Totally the same every 2-3 hours in the middle of the night where they need to eat and all of that. So, but yeah, my reflection on life is that, one, women are amazing. I mean, this is Nikki's fourth birth and just champ.
Mm-hmm.
2, God chose the correct sex to deliver children because as men, I don't think we could handle it. Well, I know we could not handle it.
Don't want any part of that.
Don't want any part. Nope. They were doing like the epidural. You know what an epidural is?
It's a big needle, right?
Yeah. And and it goes in the back to numb and different things like that. And so in the past, pre-COVID pregnancies, they make you step out of the hospital room because they say, well, there's been some legal things and for infection reasons, they don't want the more people in the room, the more susceptible you are to infection. Now, COVID, you can't really linger in the hallway. So they want you sitting right there, like next to your wife, where you can't see the needle though, so I don't pass out.
Right.
Even though the needle's not going into me, they don't want me to see it.
Oh man.
And so we have the wild card series playoffs on.
Yeah.
And so I can see the TV right there. But all I see right to the left of me, my wife, her leg just like left leg, like boom, right leg, boom, because they're trying to get it perfectly like straight
like just
in center,
straight
yeah,
out,
like she's like,
twitching
yep,
uncontrollably.
left, or like right. It's like, and the doctor's like, that's interesting, and I'm like,
never seen that before.
and it seems like this is a terrible analogy, but I'm gonna go there. When you've gone to Sonic.
Yes.
You've gotten a drink.
Yes.
And you love that drink. Like, what's your go-to drink at Sonic?
Cherry limeade.
Cherry limeade.
100%.
Great. There you go. I love cherry limeades. And you want that little bit of cherry limeade that's been on the bottom, with like that syrup and that.
Yeah.
And what do? You take the straw.
And try and get through all the Sonic ice.
Yes. And you try to find that area like left, right, middle, center.
Oh my gosh. That's such a terrible image for a huge needle going into your back.
Similar.
Yeah.
So women are amazing. Men couldn't handle it.
Nikki's a champ.
The crazy thing was the game was like tied. And so the Astros ended up scoring and winning the game and all this. And she's just looking down. And I'm trying not to tell her because she's a diehard Astros fan. Because I don't want her to move and become
like paralyzed.
So as soon as it was done, I was like, hey, good job. Asterisk one. So I like to toss around jokes, different things about that around pregnancy. Like they're always asking the woman how they're doing, not the man. But in all that joking, it is because I'm so amazingly impressed by like how God created women to like do that, and just how amazing it is. So so baby Sophia, thank you. Now the hard part starts. Mm-hmm. And she was 9 pounds 6 ounces. That's a big baby.
That's big, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, all our kids were a little big, like in the 8 pound range.
Mm-hmm. I think I was in the 8. I don't know.
Yeah. We should fact check all that with our moms. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Every mom like knows. They're like, oh yeah, this one 8'3", this one 8'11". You know, it's like another analogy. Food. It's like when you're watching them put the deli meat on, you know, and you're like, oh, how close are they going to get on the scale?
And they're really good at it.
Yeah. And it was like, man, they picked up Sophia, they put her down, and the nurse said as she's putting her down, she's like, this is a big baby. And I was like, sure. I don't know. How do you?
Yeah.
I mean, 1 pound, is that? I can understand long. She wasn't that long. But when you see a baby, the nurses, I guess they're just so used to it that they're like 7 pound to 9. I'm like, 2 pounds. I mean.
Yeah. Like, I have no idea how much this weighs.
Exactly.
Not a clue.
It's probably 2 pounds.
Less than 10 pounds.
And so she's like, oh, this is a big baby, like a 9 pounder. I was like, okay, whatever. And drops her down and didn't really drop her down, placed her gently. It was 9'6", and I'm like, ugh, that's a big baby. They say it is, but I'm like, great, awesome.
What does that mean?
Yes, exactly. I'm just like shaking my head and like, yeah, supportive dad, awesome. Meanwhile, like I look over and they're like doing stitches and I just see blood and all this and I'm like, women were made for this, not men. Not men ever. So anyway, and then in my spare time, I also made this drop.
Man, I don't know. Yes! Yeah.
The Father Paul, man, I don't know.
Man, I don't know.
I went back. I was like, Nikki, what episode was that on? And she was like, I think it was this episode. And I was like, great. So I found it back.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
Yeah. So that's what I've been up to, you know.
Yeah.
So.
I haven't done anything. Just sitting around.
I listened to both Marcy and yours, which was awesome. You guys did amazing. I kind of laughed on the little things like the outro music running out or forgetting what are you watching, thinking, reading, or when you're like, our website.
Whatever that is. Yeah. I had like a good outline in my head. Didn't always know how to fill out the bullet points under each item. But yeah.
Yeah. I think you did well. Think you did well. So I got a topic for us today based on a little bit of what we've been doing at our parish. Our most recent homily series is on community. We've encouraged people to be part of groups. This is something that has been very near and dear to my heart throughout my life. When I did a year of missionary work, I feel like that was the first time outside my family I experienced true authentic Christian community with brothers and sisters in Christ who could hold each other accountable, who could pray together, just, be united in Christ. After that, went to Franciscan. At Franciscan, they have, lack of better terms, fraternities, sororities that are Catholic. So take out the drinking, the senseless drinking, and add in, instead, they'll join together and pray a rosary, or do something called the Lord's Day, where they'll reflect on the readings and on Saturday and things like that. It was instrumental in making me the person I am today and forming me. And even today, I'm in a married community group, so other people in the same state of life that have children, same kind of similar ages and are married, just being able to journey together, to live life in that way. And I think community is such an important topic. I think about it right now, even as we have our, fourth pregnancy and birth. We wouldn't have been able to get through the things we've gone through in our life or be supported the way we are, or even things like meal calendars or things like that people set up without the community around us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think St. Anne's, which I know we have listeners from all over, but let me just,
worldwide.
Yeah, worldwide. Let me dote on St. Anne's for a second and say the only reason I can live in Texas and be away from my family who's all in the Northeast is because of the community that St. Anne's has. I truly believe it is one of the most special communities in the sense that it really reminds a lot of people of a feel that Protestant churches do community so well. Mm-hmm. They engage families. They engage young, single, married, whatever stage of life, and they get them connected to a community. Mm-hmm. I feel the Catholic Church overall has done a very poor job of that over the years, where it's more of come on Sunday, it's just come on Sunday, come on, come all, and then everything's closed down. Come on, come all. Or maybe we have a group over here, a group over here.
Yeah. But as far as parish life goes, that's most people's experience is like, yeah, I come on Sunday and I don't know, maybe there's something else that I do or would like to do if I wasn't working or something like that.
Exactly.
Kids go to religious ed.
Right.
That's pretty much it. I
pretty
think,
much
for
it.
most people. That was for me growing up, for sure. Like I didn't have any sort of experience of the community that you're talking about, I think, until I went to University of Dallas. And we didn't have the same sort of like Catholic fraternity intentional community groups, but just especially after I had my conversion there, or reversion back to the faith, started taking it seriously, it sort of naturally formed.
Right.
Some community, and even with the teachers, and but then honestly, outside of that, it really wasn't until I entered seminary that I had an experience of like people holding each other accountable. And I know that there were a lot of young people as I went through seminary that I would meet at parishes while doing parish work or something like that, or just would be talking to and would say, I don't really want to become a priest, but I want to enter seminary just for the sake of the community because I don't have anything like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so we've experienced the same thing in our young married community group, and I know a lot of people sit back and say, but really, I have a daily prayer life, I am good with God, I don't really need a community group. But I would say to them, we were created for community and to live into community, and that I believe our true growth can come out of community if we're doing it correctly. Now, if you're in a stagnant community or a community that's pulling you down or not elevating you in holiness, leave, get out. Mm-hmm. But if you're in a group that is devoted to the Lord and is able to fix its eyes on Jesus Christ, there's nothing like it. Mm-hmm. And it's in both good and bad, because there's been times where you start straying down a path, and that accountability you talked about, nobody likes to be told you're not really doing this the best.
Yeah.
But that's part of community life, right?
It is. That's maybe the most important part.
Right.
Or one of them anyway. And you don't even have to necessarily like everyone in your community group.
Yes. Right.
It definitely wasn't like that in seminary. Mm-hmm. People get on your nerves.
Wait, like who didn't you like? You're like Greg out there, our seminarian. No, I'm just kidding. Greg's our.
We didn't cross over.
Yeah, Greg's our pastoral year seminarian here. He's awesome.
Yeah, he is. Shout out Greg. No, but like when I was at the North American College, there were 250 seminarians there at the same time. Like you're not going to get along with everybody.
Yeah,
just personality wise. We played a lot of sports and get competitive in sports, and then develop like rivalries and stuff. But
I was
like,
gonna say, did you have a rivalry
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
with like a
But-
certain diocese or person or what?
For different things. Sometimes it was dioceses. So like Texas, right? We had like 14 seminarians there from Texas, from the different dioceses in Texas while I was there.
Which aren't there 13 dioceses
I
in
always forget.
Texas?
It's
Something
it's
like
something
that.
like that. I always forget. But we had a lot more seminarians than historically Texas has sent at the same time. And we had a really good community thing going. We had Texas Night every week where we get together and pray night prayer together, and then just hang out and talk. And we kept that going throughout, no matter who was there. And, you know, it's not always like the people you would choose necessarily to hang out with, but like just having that in common and trying to do this intentional Christian community thing, small group within the seminary, it was a really great thing. Our rivalries tended to be with dioceses in the Northeast.
Those people are jerks.
Sometimes with
so
like
not
what-
other ones from Texas. It
Not-
wasn't like
not really.
Tyler pitted against Dallas.
No, we tended to band together quite strongly against the
Go ahead,
tyranny
come
of
on.
the Northeast.
You got to name it. What diocese? What was like your arch nemesis?
Yeah, I'm trying to think because it depended so on Thanksgiving Day, we would do a big thing because it's a North American college. Everybody's away, sometimes for the first time from family and friends for Thanksgiving, so they would go big. And we would kind of each have we would sit by state and we would decorate our area and just like go all out. So there were so many Texas flags and everything and blue bonnets and stuff on our table. And we would always try and get a wall. So we just hang up as many Texas flags behind us on the wall as we could.
Sounds like
And-
Texans.
Yeah. And it drove New York, Archdiocese in New York, pretty insane. And also, like, somehow one time the state of Wisconsin got a wall and like they went over the top with Packers stuff.
Packers, yeah.
Cheese
Cheeseheads and all
yeah,
that.
Cheeseheads, Packers stuff. It was a little obnoxious, but yeah, it was New York tended to be the rival. But the funny thing was there were a few guys from New York that I counted as very close friends, and we forged this unlikely alliance between New York and Texas.
Really?
Yeah, and the more we got to know one another, the more it was like we have a lot in common that we never expected. So I don't know.
That's why our friendship works.
Yeah,
We have a lot
maybe
more
you're
in
wearing a
common.
Yankees hat. Congrats to the Yankees on ALDS game one.
Game one. Many more games. to
Classic. I saw the grand slam.
come. Yeah. You texted me. You were like, Grand Slam. I didn't text you back because I was holding a sleeping baby and didn't have my phone. But
I figured you were asleep already and weren't even watching the game. So
yeah, that's what you assumed. Yeah.
so I just leave that.
There you go.
Yeah.
What I want to really tap into for the last few minutes here today is when you think of community and establishing a community, what are the staples that are needed? So when somebody is sitting out there and saying, why really should I join a community group?
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether that's at St. Anne's, at your parish, wherever.
Yeah.
Banding a group of friends together to say, like, I want to do community. And instead of just us being like, hey, let's just shoot the breeze
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, watch the game, have dinner, be intentional.
Yeah.
So I have a few, but what are your non-negotiables in community life?
First of all is time. Time spent together. Like, it's just not going to be fruitful in the way that we're talking about if you don't commit enough time to it.
Right.
That's how friendships develop. That's how community actually works. That's how it has this effect of like kind of the rock tumbler effect of smoothing out the rough spots in all the members of the community by clashing into one another.
Yeah.
You don't get to that stage unless you spend enough time with one another. Otherwise, it's too easy to overlook one another's faults because you don't know each other well enough. So time is super important. I think eating together is extremely important as well. And I would say prayer and especially if it's men, maybe also for women, like a shared activity. I think as men, we need to be doing something together to be able to bond. We're not as good at just like talking to one another. The real conversations come up when you're like building something together or playing a game like with a shared common. I don't know. It just seems how men work. But honestly, like I think a lot of those you can play around with. But the most important is time spent together.
Right. And I think for me, those are similar. I think the time for me equates to accountability, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Because if I'm just in a group that is just going to agree with me,
right,
no matter what, am I really, like you talked about with the rocks, right?
Yeah.
You know, second is, I think, realizing that it's good to be connected with other families or other people. See, I'm trying to put it into words. With the time, with the family, with all that, just that connectedness, right? Like that we were made to not be alone.
Mm-hmm.
From Genesis, we hear that.
Yeah.
And God created another human being. That we're created to journey with people, and that no matter how much that can be annoying in one moment and happy in another moment, that we were made to be with other people. And so that connectedness is really important to me. I think the third is, though, the ability, I want to use the word challenging. It shouldn't just be,
okay,
hey, we come together. Our community is Saturday watching the Notre Dame football game.
Right. Good, but not what we're talking about.
Not what we're talking about. Exactly. What is intentional about that time that is really challenging you to be a better person? Mm-hmm. You know, so I know mine are all kind of clumped together of accountability, challenging, connectedness, but I think it's this moment of living together, not saying they're actually living together, but being together that is challenging them to be better people, better Christians, better Catholics, better prayer lives, better families that are making their children saints, like, you know, leading one another to holiness. So those are kind of the things for me that are non-negotiables to say, if we're just doing this and I walk away thinking, yeah, it was great talking about sports, but that's where it ended. Is it really worth it?
Right.
I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. One of the things
you're like, I'm rethinking our whole friendship.
Yeah, it's sports. All right. I'll text you like, you know, something different than congrats Yankees. I thought that was a big sacrifice.
That was a big sacrifice compared to I didn't text you when
the Cowboys lost.
No.
Oh.
Even bigger when your fantasy football team did not come through last night, when everybody, including myself, was like, "Oh, it's like a shoe-in. He's just got to catch his normal."
An easy win. I was dependent on Edelman, and he had a terrible game and caused his own team to lose, in part.
But true community, I wanted to text you and say, "Hey, good game, man." Is that what I do?
I don't know.
Sorry, go back to community, though.
Yeah. So one thing, I think an example that sums up, at least from sort of my experience, like seminary environment, priest environment, and it does look different in some ways, in some of the details, right, than it would for like families. But one thing that we would do is get together and chant the divine office for long periods. Sometimes we'd get up early in the morning, sometimes like 4 or 5 in the morning, and chant for like an hour together. And not everybody was good at it. And some
waking up or chanting or both?
Both, but especially the chanting, because like, I mean, and this is the beauty of like like monastic community as a paradigm for just Christian community in general. Because like I'm not a monk, we weren't monks, but we were doing a monkish thing, getting up early to chant, and you see it like some of the people wanted to be involved in that and would always sing flat or would just not be able to carry the pitch at all. And if they were sitting right next to you, that could be very irritating for like an hour, right? And you're trying to just be like, oh, this beautiful chant, I'm just going to get like taken up into these rapturous heights of contemplation of God through the beauty of this chant that we're all engaging in. And instead you're like, oh my gosh, just like take a water break or something, man. And like, that's where the rubber hits the road in terms of like community challenging you and helping each other to grow. And we had a shared objective in this. It was the challenge of like, we're making a sacrifice by waking up early because we don't have time to do this any other time during the day. Mm-hmm. And it was hard. It wasn't an easy thing to do, but we were doing it for the glory of God. And so it checks a lot of those boxes in my mind. And it may sound like a small thing, but I did it for enough years with enough different groups of people that like that's really formed me in a lot of ways. Yeah. That community has left an imprint on me.
So we want to encourage you, if you have a group of people you're close with, sit down, be intentional. You know, like make it a committed group that is meeting for, you know, try it out for a certain period of time.
Chant for an hour every morning in Latin with like 5 of your best friends. I'm sorry, I'm not being serious. So you're at the peroration here, trying to like really stick the landing.
And this is whether you're married, single,
introverted,
extroverted.
Everybody needs this.
Everybody needs it.
It's not easy for everyone, but everybody needs this.
And if you need a home doing that, St. Anne's does offer community groups. I know we also need more community group leaders and all of that. And so we want people to feel connected in our church and during Sundays. Mm-hmm. But outside of Sundays, because we have 1 hour and then all those other hours outside of the week, if you're not growing in a community group holding you accountable, how are we expected to do Sunday well together? So let's go to our last segment, watching, reading, thinking. I will start. Watching, sports, reading, really nothing, because I have this function right now of a baby being up every 2 hours and children and this and that. So, yeah.
Just hearing a lot of excuses.
That's true.
What are you thinking?
Well, it's a tangent, and I won't go fully into it, unlike your story with the...
My 20-minute wasp
Your 20-minute wasp story on the podcast that was supposed to be about questions. But we had a hose on the back of the house where the hose connects to the house. That was dripping, and we had to get it replaced. And they had to chip out 2 bricks from the house to replace it because the connection was in the wall. They had to go in. Great plumber. Those 2 bricks, though, got damaged, and I can't find bricks to replace it.
Matching bricks.
And I got a quote from a place. 2 bricks. 2. I'm not like, they're not building a chimney. 2 bricks. Cheapest quote was $400 to redo it. I was like, wait, are you misinterpreting the size that I'm like 2 bricks, not like 200 bricks. So that's what I'm thinking. But there's much more to it that I will hold back on. So go for it.
It's very restrained. What am I watching? Also sports. Cop out, but it's true.
True.
What am I reading? I'm reading a cookbook called,
that you brought with
that
you.
I brought in for show and tell for our YouTube. It's called Pasta Grannies.
Awesome.
The Secrets of Italy's Best Home Cooks. the official cookbook. It has a little stamp.
Of what?
I don't know. and
The official cookbook. Of Italy? Of like pasta? What?
of the pasta grannies. So it's about these
Because there's a lot of knockoffs.
these like it is delightful. Okay.
Have you ever actually?
No, I just got it.
Oh, okay.
One of my friends had it for a long time. We were both in Rome together for a long time, and he was like, you should take a look at this. The recipes are good. They teach you how to make pasta because that's what all they're called nonne, le nonne. In Italian, that's what they do. They make their own pasta, and so it's almost more about making the pasta itself than it is about whatever ingredients they're putting. But they've also got little like
The process.
like bios of the pasta grannies. Like you can read about Giuseppa and where she's from. She's in her 90s. She's from Sardinia, stuff like that. And I think they have a YouTube channel too.
Nice.
I haven't checked it out. Anyway, pasta grannies. I'm really into it right now.
You're a big pasta guy, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, big pasta guys.
It's one of my favorites. I mean,
yeah.
growing up, we had pasta every Sunday. My mom would start, or dad would start the sauce early in the morning. It would go all day. Or
Yeah.
actually, we called it gravy, but people here get confused. So
Gravy. I mean, how about this? Benedetto's pappardelle with wild boar ragu. Like that sounds pretty amazing.
it looks pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So are you thinking about food? What are you thinking about?
I'm thinking about food, but in a little different way, and I'll refrain from the full tangent also. But
Right.
I played golf on my day off this week.
Sounds
And-
tough.
Yeah, it was pretty rough, and I wanted to make the most of it, so we played 36 holes. We played 2 rounds, and I hadn't eaten much that day. So after the first 18 holes, I was like, I'm gonna get that turkey cheese sandwich from the pro shop, which doesn't look that great, but I'm gonna get it. Have a nice Gatorade with it. And as we were
What color Gatorade?
blue,
Okay.
blue or purple,
Oh, purple.
no, the like glacial frost or whatever.
I do like the blue. Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Okay. So hit our tee shots on the first hole. I'm stuffing down the sandwich as we're going in the cart, and it's going pretty well. Pretty hungry, feeling good about it. And then the Gatorade fell out of the cup holder, and I had forgotten to put the top back on the Gatorade. So it fell out and it's just pouring, like dumping onto the bottom of the cart where our feet are. And my buddy, this other priest I was playing with, looks down and is like, "Oh, your Gatorade." And so I lean forward and dump the whole sandwich into the Gatorade on the floor of the cart. And then I have a little tantrum and kick it all out of the cart into the grass.
You didn't even eat it?
No, because it was dumped into the dirt in the Gatorade
Oh
where my feet were.
Gosh, come on.
Kicked it all out.
You obviously weren't that hungry.
I was pretty hungry, but kicked it all out in frustration, and then had to sheepishly like turn to him and be like, "All right, hold on, I gotta clean that up." And so I had to like get this sopping wet dirt Gatorade sandwich back into the saran wrap. There's no trash cans on the course, so it's just sitting there on the floorboard of the cart next to my feet, and I'm just like, why? I should just turn around and go home right now. Although I felt kind of sick today to my stomach, not COVID or anything, but like just stomach upset. And I wonder if it was that sandwich that I only had like a third of, and if I'd eaten the whole thing, what would have happened?
Maybe it was God's way.
Yeah,
of
guardian
saying-
angels protecting me by slapping that sandwich out of my hands. Okay, ridiculous.
Right, ridiculous. Thanks for everybody who listens to Prodigal and the Priest. I'm Joey Scansella, Father Paul Bechter. Take care.
God bless.